Okay, I am restarting my game of Seven Ages. The first time I tried it, that was actually the first time I had ever played, and so I made a few mistakes, quite a few mistakes. So I kind of have a better feel for the game, so I'm going to start over. I hadn't gotten very far anyway. I got to age two, but I had screwed things up. So um, the glory track was messed up, and some other things were goofy. I'm keeping the same four-player game. I just it's yellow's number one player, green's number two, blue's number three, and purple will be number four. And I just set them out as that's how it's going to start. They're not going to pick. I just dealt out six cards instead of seven because that's the order of the way it's going to go. So I'm going to do the actions, and then I'm gonna actually videotape a little more of me actually playing the game. So we'll see how it goes. But I'm gonna set the actions now for the four players for turn one. Okay, so each of the four players actually has is going to take a start empire action. They actually have an empire they can create. So I will set those up, and I think um, player number one. It's the Assyrians are kind of good. I sort of like them, but they can only be played if obviously the Sumerians are in play. So the one thing is they don't get their leader till age two. So, but they do have the Celts, the Gauls. Uh, they're not the best starting empire, but that's their only option. I they're going to go ahead and start that empire. So I will get that set up, and I'll be back. Okay, so they are going to start the Celts. They get no cities, so they can't put a capital out. They get 17 gold, and they really get no special starting at start stuff. They want to be big in Europe, so they want a lot of stuff. And they get one glory if lands liberated from a more advanced empire this turn. So anyway, they start in. This is what they got for $17. They spent 9 on, or 17 gold. They spent 9 on archers, and they spent 8 on spearmen, and that adds up to 17. So they spent everything they had, and it all goes in the Black Forest, which is where they start. Okay, so they start in the Black Forest, and that's their start empire action. Okay, now the green player can start the Harapins, and they're actually, I think they're going to be pretty good. They're going to be a pretty good starting one. The real good ones are Egypt. That's a really good one. But this is, you got to take what you get. So the Harapins, that's going to be their starting empire. So I will set that up and be right back. Okay, so green is going to start the Harapins. So the first thing is, of course, you play the empire card, which the Harapins. Then you choose your color. Well, they're going to choose the light green. Promote name leader. They don't have a named leader, so no named leader. Build and set up units. So they got started with 10 gold. They're going to spend all 10 on infantry. So that's everything they have. So that goes to 0. And they start in, let's see. So let me set up their units. They start in Sindh in India, and they get a capital. Level 1 capital. Okay, so that's the Green Empire, and that's their turn. Again, no special at start benefits. So we now move on to the blue player, who is also going to start an empire. And they have the only one they can start is the Kushites Nubians. It's interesting because the Gauls, they start in Europe. The Harapans start in India. The Kushites Nubians, well, they start in Africa. So there's all different ones, which is interesting. So anyway, I will set them up for the blue player. Okay. So the blue player starts an empire, and so they're going to start the Kushite Nubians. They choose blue, light blue. They have no named leader. So they had started with 11 gold, and they spent 6 on archers and 4 on spearmen, and they start in Nubia. And again, they don't get a capital. They can't build any cities till age, 4. So, now it's interesting with them is that they get 1 income per desert, which desert's usually 0, and it also counts in harvest glory. So, they've got something going for them anyway, and not a lot, but anyway. So yeah, they should be able to get big in Africa because they can use desert as terrain, as areas, I guess, if that's what that means. Okay. So that's them. They start in Africa. So we've got, if I pan back, we've got yellow player, blue player, green player. The Celts, the Kushites, Nubians, and the Harapans. So now it's the purple player's turn. And they've got an interesting problem here. It's not a problem, but they can actually start 2 different empires. The Phoenicians, they can start in 1 or 2, but their big thing is they want to be big in Europe in the water and in the world in the water. And the only way you can do that is to have ships. Well, they can't build ships until, of course, they get to 4. Well, unfortunately, it doesn't make any sense to start them right now because they're never going to be, they can't be biggest in the water. No one can. There's no water because there's no ships. So they're kind of just, it wouldn't be wise to start them. So they're going to, even though they'll be good once you get them going. So they just have to wait till they get to the 4th progress level. Okay, so they're going to start the Babylonians, which are actually pretty good. It's a good second choice, Babylonians. So I will set them up for the purple player. Okay, so I'm setting up the Babylonians for the purple player, and so we'll start by playing the card. That's the Babylonians. Then we choose the color. They're going to choose the light purple. Then promote named leader. Well, they get this guy. Hammurabi, or however you pronounce that. So we put him in Mesopotamia. Then we get to build. Oh, now see, he is an administrator and a tactician. Administrator means that during production, an empire may build any number of units in an administrator's area. Normally, you can only put one in each space. At the start, though, when you buy your units, the cost is reduced by 1 for each new unit, except infantry. However, if the administrator is in the capital, then the infantry is reduced by 1. So if you look at his card, he wants to be biggest in Asia. He wants to be biggest with what am I trying to say? Let's see. What does he want to be biggest with besides that? Let's see. I'm sorry. I'm drawing a blank here. Artifacts. Jesus Christ. Yes, artifacts. But also he wants to be biggest with money. Now, if you look at what he's spent, because he's in the capital, I wonder if that counts because the capital's not up yet. You see, I wonder if that counts because you promote the named leader, you build an army and set it up, you resolve conflicts, and then place the capital. Well, the capital's not up yet. So that's a good question. Do you get that at the beginning of the game? Or at the beginning of the starting of his empire? Because it only applies if he's in the... Man. It only applies if he's in the capitals. If the administrator is in its capital, then the infantry costs 1. Well, he's not really in its capital yet because it hasn't been created. It's the last thing that you do. So that's a good question. Maybe his infantry costs 2. Yikes. Because there's no capital yet. I don't know. Maybe I should look that up. I'm going to say it right now it's not, so that's too much. Because I was counting that as 5, and these each are only 2. So that's 8, and 5 is 13, which of their 15 would leave 2, which means they would be, in fact, biggest in the world with money left. But I'm thinking these cost 2 each. That's 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. Which would leave them 3. They have to do that because they're the last player, so they can't be tied with blue or they wouldn't get it. So maybe they should do that. Or maybe they should go 2, 4, 6. And then 6 more is 12. And leave these. And then go with that. The problem with that is you kind of want to start with the infantry because that's how you build territory, but there's really no one around them right now, so I don't know. I guess we're going to do that. So they're going to do that. Then resolve conflict. There isn't any. Then they put their capital in. So we'll go with that. I don't know. I may have to look that up and change it. But right now we'll go with that. Call that the rule. Okay, so that's the empires, which is interesting how none of them really are next to each other, so to speak. Okay, now we go with no one has any production, trade, progress, no, maneuver, everyone just created, no destiny, civilized, no. So we discard, no, discard empires. So all empires now progress. So they all progress to there. And glory. Okay, so we'll start with yellow. Okay, yellow wants to be biggest in Europe. Well, they are. They're the only ones in Europe. So they have 1, which is the biggest. So they get 3 for that. So yellow gets 3. 1, 2, 3. Okay. Green. Well, do they control their home territory? Well, their home territory is where they started in Sind, and they control it. So they get 1 for that. They're the biggest in India. It's the only one in it, so that's 2. They get 2 for being the most advanced. Now, they are tied. But since they're the second player, player number 1 technically is top. So they're player 2, so they get 1 for that. So they actually get 3. So green also gets 3. So they're tied. Now blue. Blue, they control their home territory since they just started. They're biggest in Africa. Second in the world. Now, they're not second in the world because they're the third player and everyone only has 1 space. So, unfortunately, if they'd been player 2 or 1, they would have been. They would have been gotten 2 or 1 for that. But because they're player number 3, they only get 2. They get nothing for that. So blue gets 2. And now for purple. Purple controls their home territory, Mesopotamia. They are, in fact, biggest in Asia. Actually, they're not. They're tied with Asia. Or they're tied in Asia. So that's unfortunate. And green is, in fact, because India is part of Asia. Okay, Asia covers all of this. So, so they are second in Asia. So they get 1. So it's 1 for their home territory, 1 for Asia, nothing for artifacts since no one has any. You can't get 1 for that. However, they are biggest with money. So they're going to get 3 as well. So purple, green, and yellow are all tied. And blue is right behind. And that is the first turn of the game. All right, I will move on to turn 2.